Michelle Bachmann barely won re-election in 2012 and was facing a potentially tough rematch next fall. But the Congresswoman says that close call didn't factor into her decision to retire from the House at all.
Be assured, my decision was not in any way influenced by any concerns about my being re-elected to Congress. And I have every confidence that if I ran, I would again defeat the individual who I defeated last year, who recently announced that he is once again running.
Does any politician ever say, I'm not running because I can't win? No, they don't. Let's bring our Wednesday gaggle from the Center for American Progress, Daniela Gibbs-Lachey, NBC's political producer on Capitol Hill, Casey Hunt, and AEI visiting fellow Ramesh Ponnuru, who writes for the National Review and Bloomberg View. Anything else you want to add to that lengthy title?
And I'm a friend of the fix.
Friend of the show. Ramesh, I want to talk to you about Michelle Bachmann. So we talked at the top of the show about, is there a lasting legacy that Michelle Bachmann leaves, either in Congress, which I tend to doubt, or in the campaign world, which I'm more open to? Do you have a take?
Well, she was a pioneer in showing that you could build a national fundraising base as a conservative in the Obama era by being out there on the TV shows and saying outlandish, envelope-pushing things. Unfortunately, what that meant at home was people in her district began to wonder if she was actually concerned about the district or if she had national ambitions.
It's Chris Dodd moved to Iowa during the presidential race in 2008 and then had to run in 2010. People remember that.
Many times. Bob Dornan lost his House seat in part because of that in the 1990s.
Tremendous B1 Bob Dornan reference.
Very similar character.
Danielle, I want to ask you about this. Jim Graves, who ran in 2012 and came very close to winning despite the fact that Mitt Romney won the district by 15 points. This is what he had to say. I want to read it about Michelle Bachmann. He said, as recent polling indicates, our message is resonating with the people of the 6th district, and she recognized that. She must have also recognized that it would have been an uphill battle for her going forward. I'm not sure I totally agree with that. This is a Republican district, but does Michelle Bachmann's retirement make it more or less likely Democrats win the seat in 2014?
I think it will be more difficult for Democrats to take the seat. Obviously, like you said, Mitt Romney won it by a lot of points. But it all depends on who the candidate is, who they decide to run in her seat. And, I don't have any insight on that. But, I think her video, I think we can all agree, was pretty terrible and very long. But I think that it was more than just she wanted to get out. I think the investigations that were going on and the really tough race that she ran last time, I think the writing was on the wall for her. She just didn't want to deal with it.
Every time. She drastically underperforms that district, no matter what you think of her.
Yes, she does.
Casey, I want to talk to you about two things. One is, you spent a lot of time on the campaign trail in 2012. It seemed like Michelle Bachmann peaked at the 2011 Ames straw poll and never was the same again. Did she miss her moment? Bad timing? Did she do the best that she could have done? You were out there with all of them. What was your impression of her?
And I was there when she was in the straw poll, and then I went to some of her events ahead of the Iowa caucuses, and the change between the excitement during the straw poll.
I remember being there.
And the events right before she got out of the race was just extremely dramatic, and that was pretty stunning for her personally, if you talk to people who are close to her. And remember, too, that it's possible that Bachmann, by stepping out or retiring now, could ultimately end up with a more powerful platform than she might have had in the House. You've seen others, similar, Mike Huckabee, Jim DeMint, others who have decided that, this is not the place for me.
Quickly, because I know you're on the Hill now, my impression always of Michelle Bachmann was that she left almost no imprint on Capitol Hill. Her colleagues on the Republican side sort of let her do her thing, but weren't. Is that fair to her?
She tried at one point to join the leadership, and she was
That's right, she ran for leadership, right.
Pretty aggressively. So she really hasn't found, there are a handful of other conservatives in the House who she pals around with, Louis Gohmert,
from Texas.
Steve King from Iowa, but they're sort of, and even in that group, they're competing with each other for influence. So she's competing with Steve King for airtime on conservative talk radio.
Right. Ramesh, I want to start with you on this because I want to address it before we end the show. Eric Holder, sort of through intermediaries, said he has expressed some regrets about the way the Fox News case regarding this Fox News reporter who followed in and out of buildings, James Rosen. What do you make of this? Is this a sort of a PR move?
Well, I think one thing we've learned is that it's too much to expect Eric Holder to be up to date on what Eric Holder has been doing. So he has to read the Washington Post to discover what he's been doing.
Ramesh.
And once he reads it, he can sometimes feel some regret. I think the next step is he's going to start expressing creeping regret for the things that he's about to do.
Danielle, I'm guessing you probably don't agree with Ramesh.
No, I don't. I mean, look, I think there are some valid concerns about prosecutor overreach here. But I think that Republicans, in their rush to create a huge scandal, I think they're going to overplay their hand, and they have to be careful.
Casey, what do you make of Holder?
The fact that Fox News is so involved in this is something that's putting more political pressure on them. I mean, Republican politicians do not rush to defend the media, but they will defend Fox News.
It's fascinating. Daniela, shameless plug. Shameless.
Okay, it's very shameless. Colleagues at the Center for American Progress, our immigration team has been doing great work, and they just released a great study showing the economic benefits of legalizing the 11 million undocumented here, $832 billion over 10 years.
And we're going to hear much more about immigration as the summer wears on. Casey.
I want to say happy birthday tomorrow to my grandfather, World War II veteran, who
That's nice.
we love very much.
Very nice. Ramesh.
My latest Bloomberg View column, I take a step back from the scandals and look at the president's record on the rule of law.
And I want to say, picking up on Casey, one of my wife's grandfathers deceased, one alive, both World War II veterans, both I know really proud of that moment when the World War II Memorial went in. So a nice moment. Thank you all for joining us. That's it for this edition of the Daily Rundown.